Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Groyper Report. Tonight, we have some groundbreaking news to share with you.
Welcome to the Groyper Report. Introducing the most racist men alive. They are shutting it down as we speak. Welcome to the Groyper Report. Sexist. Racist. Phobic this, phobic that. Terrorizing women across the country. Telling them to wear clothes. Saying all women are mid. Minorities fear them. The president has them on speed dial.
Guess what? Your body, my choice.
Brought to you by Frog Aura Maxing. Brought to you by Frog. Giga Chat Central, yes, thank you for asking. They all must go. Welcome to the one and only. Defending the last white men on Earth. AtlasThugged and Josh Van Der Nord. This is the Groyper Report.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 17th edition of the Groyper Report. At least I think it's the 17th edition. And I'm your host, AtlasThugged, aka Aaron Shepard, joined by my co-host, if I can bring him in here.
Josh Van Der Nord, aka White Boy Regular Voice. Happy to be with you guys again on a Saturday night.
Looks like Josh's camera might be frozen on me. That's unfortunate. We were perfectly fine until just now. Is it good now?
How's it now?
Still?
We okay?
Maybe a little bit.
It looks good. Looks good.
Is it fine? You guys tell me.
I'm seeing movement.
We'll get in the chat. I think it's catching up now. I don't know what was going on.
Okay.
But welcome in, everybody. We are the one network not afraid to say Christ is King. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good. How are you, Atlas?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. MAGA is dead. And we are seemingly awaiting the news. I would imagine in any moment, we'll figure out which island we're invading or where we're going to step foot on which coastline. What is the next move in this escalation, right? And that's kind of what I've been paying attention to. And as we see the Iran war continue its seemingly slow and channeled escalation, unfortunately. But also, how are you feeling about the cuck bill that's been going around?
Okay, I saw that in the prep. Is that in reference to Nick Fuentes joking about maybe we should be cucks or something? Is that what that's in reference to?
So I don't know who has been championing it. It might actually be getting championed by Chad Champion, actually.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
But it's like the concept that if your girl is going, just let her. That's the ascended, right? That's the non-cortisol spike. Your girl is going and you're just cool with it. My girl's going with Chad. Maybe she's happy. I'll go focus on my hobbies. That's the cuck pill. That's what's being championed. I don't know if it's really being championed, but that's the concept, and I find it hilarious. But what do you think?
Now, do you stay with the girl, or do you let her go? Like you just bye?
I'm assuming you stay with her. I mean, I'm getting familiarized with this myself.
No.
Yeah, I found it pretty funny. But that was kind of some of the themes here.
That's funny though.
And so to put the train back on the tracks here a little bit, we have a couple of missing shows from this week. Actually, Wednesday and Thursday, Nick Fuentes did not go live, so we just have Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And Monday and Tuesday stayed around the typical kind of base we were at as we came off of the weekend, updating us on where we are on the Iran war. And Monday episodes have actually been pretty positive. Largely because most of the developments have been happening over the weekend. If you've been paying attention to this market manipulation and the rhetoric and the fake negotiations, all in an attempt to ensure and appease the current market to avoid any kind of extreme fluctuation, and everything been happening on the weekend. So Monday has been the best day as since the Iran war has been going on, kind of get the drop off of news. Tuesday stayed in the same vein, and then Friday we kind of got a bit of a primer for what to expect over the weekend. And we have a couple themes here. Obviously, the cuck pill is one, but I think there's some more with that. This idea of your girl is going, and this more of an engagement from the kind of the incel purview as well. The JD Vance entity is maybe the second kind of theme of the week. And this is this idea that there is a connective network, whatever you want to call it, between both the JD Vance, both JD Vance, Tucker Carlson, Peter Thiel, David Sachs, and then seemingly the front man for this, it's providing the majority of cover and pathway to escape for Vance, is Joe Kent, and all of his public rhetoric that he's been giving. And he's gone on the circuit, right? He went on Sean Ryan's show. He was on Tucker Carlson. He did the Mark Levin podcast. He did the deep dive with Davis Mills, I think is his name. I could be wrong about that. So he's obviously been pushing his points there. And maybe the more geopolitically relevant theme here, though, is the fact that there are no peace talks. There are no negotiations. The supposed meeting meant to happen, and I believe it was Islamabad. I think was it in Pakistan? Islamabad, or was being hosted by Pakistan? Didn't happen. This is supposedly the one that they wanted JD Vance really badly for. And now, seemingly, the peace talks have been relegated to just Pakistan hosting them between Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Turkey. So it's all these people who aren't even involved. The region is involved, but it's like all the outside individuals trying to get everyone to calm down, more likely because they don't want the region being bombed to nothing. And then again, the big theme, obviously, this pending ground invasion and what to expect. And I believe I actually got the update shortly, about an hour or two ago, that the original amphibious vessel group, I think it was the 2,500 Marines and 2,500 sailors, have actually arrived in the Persian Gulf. So that's what we're kind of looking at for this week as well. But I kind of ranted there a little bit. Is that kind of what you picked up from this week as well?
Yeah, I've been so busy. I honestly have been a little plugged out of the news. So I did want to ask you this. There's something you brought up. Because we didn't do Groyper report last week, so we didn't get to talk about this. I thought the whole JD Vance, they want JD Vance to be the main negotiator. I thought that was all fake. Like, I thought that was made up by Vance. So there is some credibility to that they were actually asking for him, or the Pakistanis were.
No, so this is like the fakeness of it, right? The posited story was that they want JD Vance to do these negotiations. This is to posit him again, like as Nick has been describing, highlighting him as like they're done talking with like Witkoff's envoy, which I'm trying to remember who else was involved in that. But it's like they're done talking with him. Clearly they rug pulled on us. And they want to talk to the guy who was the non-interventionist. They want to talk to this guy. And that's the thing, is that the talks didn't happen, and it's all fake. It's just a bunch of BS. That's funny. But really, it's exactly what you had said initially, which is it's all rhetoric, right? It's all rhetoric meant to posit sentiment in people's minds, more so in the way that we're viewing it here. I mean, I'll speak for myself, in a way to provide cover and separation for JD Vance as he pursues the presidency in 2028. This idea that he can have something to run off on that is not, do you want 4 more years of this? And it's his way of kind of showing that he was not a part of the inner circle that was pushing hardcore for war. But we know all of that to be fake.
Okay, yeah, that's basically the gist. I get it. I personally, with all, like, this is a lose-lose scenario for us, this whole war, but it is so delicious to see JD Vance going down in flames.
Yeah. Well, the thing is I don't know what to expect about that right now, to be honest, because the thing is like what we have been arguing. Well, I guess, again, I'll speak for myself. What I've been arguing for, or just at least positioning or saying, is that I think it's clear with James Fishback, and really anybody, honestly, you could primarily make running on like this just anti-Israel as your platform, and you'll probably do exceptionally well. And this seems to be exactly the pathway that Joe Kent is providing for JD Vance, but rather loosely, right? And so Joe Kent now has been getting further and further. So initially his letter was like, I disagree with this, the Israel drug us into this war. But now he's going even further. Like, I think it was on the deep dive with Davis where he was talking specifically about what Iran should be doing. Like, if I was Iran, here's how I would respond to the troop invasion. And also talking about how the only path out of this is restraining the Israelis. So he's continuing this. He's getting a bit further into like what he's kind of willing to say about Israel, right? And so And again, if you look
Mm.
at this with him being connected to Vance, or he's like, he's on Tulsi's team, and Tulsi's team was in the Situation Room with Vance, not Mar-a-Lago. That's where Witkoff and Miller and everyone else is at, where the actual inner circle from Trump. And so it's enough to at least look at, in the sense of, if they continue this momentum between Tucker and they continue it with who's the other main kind of pusher? I think Sean Ryan's going to join this too. I think you got to look at Sean Ryan and what's the connective element between those guys. They're all CIA, right? Tucker, CIA. At least his father is, right? Maybe him. Well, we'll give a bit of a more of a benefit of a doubt, but Sean Ryan definitely, and Joe Kent definitely, and now you have three big kind of CIA guys pushing for this and being on Vance's team. But no, I guess well, let's interact with this. Some people are saying they find it to be inevitable. Do you think JD Vance is inevitable?
No, absolutely not. If anything, what's kind of interesting to me about the JD Vance thing is you do see the factions, so to speak, at the top, at the upper levels. This is actually one of those cases where the tensions between the powers that be is showing a little bit. You know what I mean? Like we grew up learning like, oh, it's an Illuminati where they're all buddies and pals, which they are to a certain extent, but that there's no like disagreement. They all dress up in bird masks and do whatever. It's like, no, they do have their own interests. That's why, like, if you think in these absolutes, as a Sith would, like Tucker Carlson might be elusive because he's wishy-washy on certain things that other CIA spooks aren't. And it's like, well, I think he is a CIA asset, but I also think he has a relative amount of agency and independence. You know what I mean? Like, I think he gets money from Qatar or Qatar.
Yeah.
And but I also think there is like an ideological alignment. You know what I mean? It's not like he's a slave to them. I think it's quid pro quo, but to what extent? The point being is that there are levels to this. And I think, so is JD Vance inevitable? He may not be. I think the Jews don't like him. Like the Levins of the world. Because think about it, the Jewish elite, a lot of them do think like Levin. They're not as cold and calculated as a Netanyahu. And you see that because like they voice their concerns. And so JD Vance is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And right. I think a DeSantis or a Rubio would be more than happy to, kiss Israel's ass and fill that void.
Well, we already know that though, right?
Right.
Unanimously, the donors said when Trump asked right before they went to war with Iran, they unanimously or near unanimously all wanted Rubio. And I think honestly that might have been the sign for Vance that he's got to start moving now. But here's the thing though too. I think this is kind of it kind of goes back to the principle and the idea here, which is public sentiment and public opinion has very little to do or very little impact or influence on what actually happens relative to policy outcomes compared to where the money goes. And so as long as the money maintains its backing over Rubio, I mean, this would be kind of curious to go. The only thing is I find it impossible for Rubio to run on, do you want 4 more years of this? And I don't see any avenue that Rubio can separate himself from the actions of this administration, especially because he's holding 2 positions right now, right? He's holding what he's actually Secretary of State, but I do believe he's also still holding oversight duties over, the NSA, after Waltz was relegated, after the signal leak or whatever through the group chat that happened earlier in the administration. I guess the other thing I would say is too, like, I don't have a feeling or general feeling even that Republicans have the edge in general. Like, I think if you were to pull out, I think the midterms are a little indicative of there's just a general left-wing push right now. I think, what was it? It was the district in Florida was plus 12 by Trump, got flipped in Florida to a Democrat. And that's amidst while you have like nobody was even challenging, right, Byron Donalds for a hot minute until it was fished back. And now that race is largely just Republican race. I'm unsure. I don't think it's inevitable. I think it's kind of up in the air right now. I think really what we're going to see is more so what happens through this war. How quickly will the war end? And I think a lot of that will actually hinge upon that, which is, again, to think about this, if the war doesn't end until, I don't know, September or late this year, that only gives a bit of reprieve for like a few months before the campaigns start. And I just find it hard to see anybody attached with this administration being able to be the winner of the presidency, period. Could Van, I mean, I still think Vance has a great chance at being the nominee, but will he win the presidency? I'm really unsure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're at a point now where what's really going on is it's just fun to speculate about these things, because I go back to what Nick said about this, where people were asking him in the super chats a few months ago. It's like, well, if not Vance, then who? And he's like, it's 3 years away, guys. Give it time. We don't have to know what to do right now. There's a lot of time between now and then. A lot's going to happen. More names will come up, I'm sure. People will throw their hat in the ring to challenge the Trump administration. Like
Right.
the obvious, the Marco Rubios, the Ron DeSantis's, I mean, he's kind of a challenger, but JD Vance. There's going to be, it's a primary. There's going to be a stage full of people to begin with. We don't have to have the answers to this. And so I think, and here's a good thing is, with that in mind, the elites and the powers that be don't either. I think back to the 2024 race where DeSantis was the Jewish flower child. He was their top pick. They didn't want Trump. They didn't want Trump because of all of the baggage that comes along with him. They wanted a whipped DeSantis. And then DeSantis wasn't doing so hot. And look how quickly all that support shifted to Nikki Haley.
Right.
Like you remember that? That happened in like a day. It was
Right.
just all of a sudden, it was Nikki Haley.
And I think that's more indicative of the fact that the money has way more influence and impact than people's sentiment or funny posts online or like this meme
Right.
on X. Like, and that's where I'm saying, like, if the supporters are very heavily behind Rubio and maybe they got a signal ahead of time, then maybe perhaps Vance was ready to kind of start breaking away. I think it's still yet to be seen, like, what really is this kind of separate entity, right? Like, is this more representative of little tech? Right? Is that what this is representative of? Is there like are they seriously trying to vie and wring power away from maybe the bigger, more Silicon Valley, more archaic, more lived in elite, more the ancient order Israel? Or is this more so the fact that this is a bit more of the American Jewish diaspora fighting the Israeli state to maintain leverage and influence? It's kind of curious to really see what the actual primary or supreme principle is. That's the reason why JD Vance is a bit separate from this. Because again, you have to think about it. They're running on Israel needs to restrain itself. And I think in there too, I think this is also why you're seeing the push as well. Again, the pressure towards Israel coming from people like Kent and others. And also why I think that Kent is willing to testify in the Tyler Robinson case, specifically on the foreign element. Right. So I forget whose podcast he was a part of or when he answered to this. It was actually Michael Schellenberger. Forgive me. It was an interview with Michael Schellenberger that Joe Kent did. And he was in this interview with Schellenberger where he was asked the question, like, would you, if you, push came to shove or something like that. And Kent was like, something to like the effect of, I don't want to, or like, I wouldn't be opposed to, but I would if I was asked. And who would that directly reflect? If Joe Kent goes up and testifies, to the benefit of Tyler Robinson against the FBI or against Kash Patel or whatever, that the FBI shut them down and did not pursue a full, robust, by-the-book investigation, now you open it up to things like mistrial, or now you open it up to, did this investigation have a presumptive conclusion? Like, was it done properly or improperly? And who does that reflect on? And now think about this. So what if that results in Tyler Robinson getting off? Now where does the ire go? To me, I see a world in where the ire goes to Netanyahu, where people are like, dude, like you did things like you tweeted and second after Charlie Kirk passed away, you blew the whole case open. Like, why are you so like this? And I think in an attempt, much like how Nick had said, one thing that would really help JD Vance right now would be if Netanyahu didn't win his election. Because if there's a change of prime minister, now there's a really good chance that the have now opened up a longer time window to ensure the Iran war doesn't pick back up until they get their, ducks back in an order. And then it allows Vance to have a kind of a free open space with no pressures. And then when he can take over the presidency, it doesn't really matter. They can go back and help Israel and do whatnot. But they just need that buffer zone to get away from the war so that it's not negatively reflecting upon him. At least that's kind of the way I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, dude, because you've been on the Tyler Robinson will get acquitted train for a minute. And I was like, dude, come on, man. Like, let's be real.
Right.
But and I'll be honest, I'm not on the yes, he's definitely gonna get acquitted, but the longer time goes on, the more I'm like, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Well, so I think for a couple of reasons, and not to spend too much time before we go into a clip, but I think there's a very easy argument you could make just on, for one, the Joe Kent testimony will be massive. Many people will be tuning into the Tyler Robinson case just to see what Joe Kent has to say. That'll definitely be a clip. Secondarily, Candace Owens' influence. That's also massively and overhangs over the case too. A lot of people are already kind of have made their minds up about this. And third, you go back to some of the original stuff that was coming out of the case, right? It was gag order, thousands of gag orders coming out. A lot of it just presents itself that I think with a reasonable doubt for many jurors who may have already seen coverage from Candace Owens and knowing there's just a voluminous, I think maybe the right way to say that.
Voluminous?
Yeah, right. Amount of evidence that it'll be hard for them to say without a doubt it was him. And so it may just result in like we could not confidently say he did it, right? It may find its result like that in the jury, and then it moves to whatever, and he gets off. I think there's a strong chance of that actually, and I think it gets stronger by the day. And I also think too, like, how could any judge sit there and say, "Yeah, I found a jury. Here's 12 people who've never heard of Tyler Robinson before." Like, give me a fucking break, dude. Like, there's no one is going to be able to sell that at all. And I think the defense needs to lean in on that, which is like, how thoroughly did you check this jury? Like how could you even say that these people haven't heard of Tyler Robinson? And then you may get a jury that's like a bunch of old people, or like a bunch of people who are just out of the, like, then you get like a mixed bag. So I just see it going a bunch of different ways and just many variables. I think that lends itself to the defense of Tyler Robinson.
I was gonna say you could get the jury to be just a bunch of illiterate Hispanic illegal immigrants or something. They're like, oh, guilty.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe that's the way they have to go, right? Just finding people who, when they ask, well, I think it's actually deeper than that. It's been a minute since I've actually looked at the technicalities of jury duty. But I do believe in high profile cases like this, they do check your search history. They check to see if you have like recently watched anything relevant to the case, things of that matter. It might not be a proactive thing though. I could be wrong about that. I think what may happen is actually if like the defense like gets wind that one of the jurors has pre-knowledge, I think they can call in like a session, and then the judge has a personal meeting with one of the with the jury member, and then they like through the phone, or they ask them. I can't remember what the process. It's been so long since I've done anything court related. I used to actually do stuff like that because there was a period where I thought I would be a lawyer.
Whoa! Look at you.
Yeah,
I'm telling you what, man. Whoever Tyler Robinson's lawyer is, if he gets Tyler Robinson off, no pun, pause. He's gonna have Better Call Saul level like meme status.
right. Well, wasn't it the public defender he got? It's like that 400-pound woman. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, maybe he's cooked.
Yeah, I think his defense attorney is like, they scrape the bottom of the barrel. Not to be rude, but like, I think if you see a lawyer who's like super overweight, I think that's an easiest sign. Like, this person's disheveled, they don't have discipline. Like, I would immediately I'd be like, I'm cooked, dude. I'm out, dude. I'm screwed. But to get into some of the clips, actually, we'll move into more of what actually occurred on America First this week. Opening back up on Monday, Monday really talked about, looking ahead to Iran, what to expect come this weekend. More so opening up about Vance 2028, this idea, this network, what to pay attention to, the subtleties there. But also the Sneeko Brown cloning, which have you seen much of this?
I've only heard it referenced on Nick in the super chats. Because I don't follow Sneeko. I've never really been a Sneeko fan.
Really?
Yeah, my only because I was kind of the I like Andrew Tate, but I did kind of think, okay, here's this kid who's clowning Andrew Tate style, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I did watch him when him and Nick started like hanging out, but that's pretty much it. But I have seen what you're talking about, where he's gone full like Muhammad Jihad, all that crap.
Okay, interesting. Each side can also remove up to 6 during jury selection. Interesting. I forgot about
Oh.
that. I forgot about the pre-selection process too. Yeah, there's just a lot. There's just a lot, and I think part of the reason why you've not even really been seeing it get covered lately is because I do think, because here's the thing: when it felt like they were winning the case, they were publishing footage of him constantly. They're like, "Look how he looks in the courtroom. Looks how he." Joe Kent comes out. What case? What high profile assassination case? What are you guys talking about? I don't know. I'm open to it. I'm sticking to my prediction. I do think I'm not even just going to say I just don't think he's going to get charged as guilty. I think that mistrial, whatever, he just will not be found guilty. But also there's also this concept that everything is AI on X. And I think it's kind of going to where we start. This is where Nick opened the stream on Monday, complaining and getting angry about how much content on X is just simply AI slop. So here's the first one. Well, forgive me.
What?
It opened on the third monitor. There we go. It opened on the monitor that's like out of my eyesight, like all the way to my left. That's like, what's going on? Okay, here it is.
I don't know about you, but lately I go on Twitter and it feels like literally everything on Twitter now is AI. Is that just me? Because I actually feel like I'm going insane sometimes. I spend a lot of time on Twitter or X because I have to, because I'm covering the news and I want to see the breaking news. I want to see the developments as they happen. And I have to cover everything for my show. So I'm on Twitter constantly. And I was just thinking this weekend. It just sort of dawned on me. I'm on Twitter and I look at a tweet and then I go to the replies, and without fail, it's like every single reply on every single tweet is AI now. And the problem with AI is that unlike the spam bots that you used to have on Twitter, the AI, it almost appears organic enough that you actually have to read it to realize it's AI. It's like the way that it's formatted, the way it's written. Because if it was a spam bot, it would be filled with emojis, or it would have like italicized characters and writing, or it would be the same message, something in bio, whatever. Now the AI they produce, if you just look at it without reading it, it just looks like a normal post. Then you read it and you realize this is just Chat GPT. This is AI generated. And it's every tweet, every reply. Those are all the top replies. And you actually have to read through like 10 or 20 replies before you get to anybody even real. And most of them, sometimes it's hard to tell. Some are more obvious than others. And even a lot of the content on Twitter too. I see so many AI shorts on Twitter now, especially of like animals. I saw one the other day of like a dog imitating a penguin. And I had to watch it like 3 times to realize it was fake, because you kind of see it on the first go around. You're like, wait, this doesn't quite look right.
And I have to agree with them. It's been getting really, really bad. And it sucks too, because it's like if you like set your phone down, I have to get in the habit of doing this too. Because sometimes I'll have my phone open, like right now, where it'll just be like on something and I'm not paying attention. I'm like over here. So like some video might be on screen that plays like 3 or 4 times. And then it turns out like all of a sudden my whole feed is now whatever that video was, because it thought I was just sitting there watching the same thing over and over again. And I hate how the algorithm does stuff like that. But to shout out one of my really good friends, he literally, I got onto the Discord with him the other day, and he was like, I think one of the first things he said was, he was like, dude, he's like, this AI shit's pissing me off. It's like every video I look at, it's AI. And I could go either way about it. I guess I'm indifferent. I kind of more so accepting of it, to be honest with you. How do you feel about it?
I don't mind, it like, no secret, I'm not a huge Twitter junkie. Like, I'm hardly ever on it. It's everywhere regardless, you know what I mean? And to me, it's like I could take it or leave it. It's pretty easy to tell when it's AI, and when it's something where it's like like the way you can kind of tell if something's real or not if you're not sure is how much other people are talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a couple things where I'm like, I would not be hearing about it from user X1239227, you know, if this were real.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I look at a lot of these posts now too. Like I'll see there's so many of these bad accounts like that. It's like one account I used to follow that was really good is terrible now is like Wall Street Apes. Like literally it's like nonstop posting fake shit all the time now. Like we're not even doing the bare due diligence to like check it out. You have Dom Luker putting his watermark on literally any video he ever sees, whether it's AI or not, pushing it. And what's the other one? Like Shadow of Ezra. There's a bunch of these accounts now on X specifically that are just like copy paste. And that's the stuff that does bother me because enough of them do it, they end up on the trending, and then and then the LLMs start feeding into themselves. It's like, well, there are like 1,000 people talking about this, but it's like, yeah, but it's fake. It's like not a real thing. It's just a bunch of accounts are saying it, and then it then turns into a bigger story or a trend until eventually somebody calls it out, and then that becomes a trend. And it's just like it's crazy how these things work anymore. But it's the same thing, kind of like how a lot of things are. Just like, what are you going to do about it, right? This is kind of like the next step. Yeah. Who's going to stop AI, right? Like, are people going to come out and like
take your Israeli family
bombing, AI data centers?
Home.
I doubt it. Thank you for the super chat from Smelling Balls. He says Josh's tweets are rare but gems. Make you feel good.
Yeah. I was actually I was scrolling through my own tweets like the other day. And I was laughing, not even like at the content, which are gems, but just like, I was like, I don't even remember thinking this. I just like randomly one day was like, these people want your children to be like Patton Oswalt. And I was like, what am I talking about?
That's wild. Well, you know what's funny is I feel like my low effort tweets are the ones that always do well. And like anything I put time into, it's like, it was just me who liked it, and that's it. And it's like, oh, that's lovely. Anyways.
Yeah. And the way, listen, as someone who screens calls for a radio show, my thing is, if you don't have anything interesting to say, don't say it.
That is
that's
true.
Why I never tweet.
That is very true. But thank you for Smelly Balls for the super chat. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Smelly Balls. We love you, Smelly Balls.
But I do think there's probably a great clip we can play of the serious nature before we get into something a bit more funny on Monday. And I think this will serve as a great kind of bit of information, educational source for many people who might be still unaware or not sure of what this entity network of JD Vance is. But I think this is going to probably give the most, what's the word? The biggest bite out of the content you're going to get is going to be this clip here. So it is 6 minutes long. I don't think we need to play the whole thing, but we'll play a good portion of this. And again, going into the forces at work behind the entity that is JD Vance. So here we go.
I'm not going to get to it tonight because this is a whole other thing. But tomorrow I want to talk about this and you should tune in. There seems to be an angle here with JD Vance. And I'm not going to spoil it, but tomorrow we're going to get into all this. The forces of evil are at work even here. And once again, I'm the only one that seems to be able to see it. We talked about it last week. David Sachs is against the war now. Joe Kent resigned from the government. Then he's interviewed by Tucker. Vance is nowhere to be seen. And now all of a sudden this weekend, you start to hear, have you seen in the papers? They say, well, Vance was quietly against the war. He's fully supportive of the president, but he was expressing his doubts silently. It's like, well, then he's not really expressing them. But you're starting to see that. Vance was always against the war. Vance thought it was a bad idea. I'll spoil it a little bit. And you know what they said this weekend? Did you hear this one? They said the Iranians want to negotiate, but they don't trust Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner because that was a negotiating team in February. And look at what that profited Iran. So who do the Iranians want? Say the reports, the rumors, anonymous sources. The Iranians They're willing to talk. So they say, but they don't just want to talk to Kushner and Witkoff. They don't trust them anymore. Who do they want to bring in to negotiate in Pakistan or Turkey next week? Why, our fearless vice president, of course. Our fearless vice president, J.D. Vance. Oh, really? Wow. That's really interesting because, you know, Steve Witkoff has been dealing with the Iranians since January of last year. Steve Witkoff has been dealing with the Qataris and Hamas and Iran and Tom Barrack and Hezbollah and Syria. He's been dealing with all these parties and Russia. He's the number one envoy, has all these relationships, has a personal relationship with Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran. He's been there from the beginning. This is his file. All of a sudden, they say, oh, well, the Iranians, they want to talk, but they won't talk to just anybody, not these bubble-blowing, goofy babies, Steve Witkoff. Now they want to bring in J.D. Vance. So are you telling me that next week J.D. Vance is going to broker the ceasefire to end the war? Because that would be something. That would be the mother of all psyops. In comes our fearless vice president, J.D. Vance, to end World War III. They wouldn't talk to Witkoff. They wouldn't talk to Kushner. They would only talk to Vance. And so maybe that's going to be the photo op, is J.D. Vance in Turkey, in Pakistan, with the speaker of Iran's parliament, shaking hands, making the deal. And then he's going to be everywhere. I ended the war. And this is how he's going to outflank little Marco. Because, see, they don't want to talk to little Marco. The top 25 Wall Street donors, they want Marco to be the nominee in 2028. The donors want to start donating to Rubio for 28. They've chosen him over Vance. The Iranians don't want little Marco. They want Vance. Interesting. And you know who else hailed the diplomacy efforts today on Twitter? Take a wild guess. So obviously the diplomacy is bullshit. Bullshit. The Iranians are saying they want reparations. They're saying they want the United States to abandon our bases in the Middle East. And Trump is saying, well, they've agreed to give up nuclear enrichment. Who's hailing these bullshit negotiations as legit and commending Trump for them? Why, Joe Kent, of course. Joe Kent. Amazing. So wait a second. So wait just a minute. On Tuesday, Joe Kent said, I cannot, in good conscience, send young men and women to die in Iran like Israel made us do in Iraq, so I have to resign. That was on Tuesday. On Thursday, you're telling me these negotiations came together, and now on Monday, Joe Kent says, thank you, Mr. President. We must always pursue peace. I believe in diplomacy. So what happened in the past week then? On Tuesday, it was a fever pitch. It was a crisis. You had to step down because this is a quagmire and there's no way out and we're all going to die. On Monday, now you're hailing these efforts, and who's going to lead them? Your buddy J.D. Vance. And we're all going to buy that, and people will. Spoiler alert, people will. The cattle, the goyim, are going to eat it up. Now, this is a conspiracy theory. All of these forces are at work right now. Israel's at work. Vance and his team are at work. Forces are at work. And it remains to be seen who will win out here. I think that is something they're trying to do, though. Whether they succeed or not, I guess time will tell.
So that's kind of the look into what we have been discussing, what I've been talking about too, basically echoing everything Nick has been saying, because I see all the same signs as well. And I think I even started my stream on Monday coming into it with taking a look at where Joe Kent was, positioning himself with some of the interviews that came out. And I think the Sean Ryan show specifically. And inside of that, though, what I made note of the fact that Sean Ryan himself clipped a very specific portion of his show, posted it on his main account, and it was pushing what exactly? It was like a minute clip, but it was pushing Joe Kent saying we need to restrain the Israelis. And that came out, I believe, on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, forgive me. So all the signs are there. And I think even if you look through it through that lens, you can see the movement happening like that. So I guess I'm kind of curious, where is your head at with this?
First off, I didn't see this live, but when I saw this clip the first time, I was just as cut off this time when he called him all bubble blowing bubble babies will be beaten senseless. That reference came out of nowhere and it made me laugh every time, dude.
That's funny.
But in all seriousness, this is a serious show, Atlas. In all seriousness, it's one of those things where you're seeing the pieces come together, but even that, I don't think like they're competent enough to sell. Now, people are going to buy it regardless, but will it be this complex? I mean, it's clear Nick laid out perfectly how Joe Kent is obviously co-opted. Joe Kent is part of the Teal Vance network.
Right.
Now, he's absolutely right, and it's clear what's going on here. What stuck out to me about this clip, and I think is so important, is this is actually something I was arguing with my boss on my day job radio show, is the whole thing where Vance is like, oh, he secretly is against the war, but he's on, he can't go against Donald Trump. He's the VP. And that's how the boomers are selling it to themselves, dude. Right. And it's so funny. So it's so funny. My boss knows I'm a Nick Fuentes fan. We don't really talk about it, but he knows.
That's awesome.
And he only discovered Nick Fuentes after the Tucker Carlson interview, which was crazy to me. I was like, I never mentioned it, but I was like, you're just now hearing about him?
Right.
But anyways, he texted me unprompted yesterday, and he just goes, Nick Fuentes is mad he's a fag. And I was like, context? ? And honestly, I bet he saw this clip and I like my boss. He's a good guy, way deep down. But he's absolutely fallen for the Vance thing. Yeah. Because he's just plugged in enough to politics to have caught wind of JD Vance before like the mainstream conservative audience did. So he's bought into the whole like JD Vance is a podunk good old boy from middle of Ohio. Yeah. He's our guy. And now that the cracks are in the armor and Trump has basically betrayed MAGA, which he's into, he acknowledges, he goes, Trump betrayed MAGA. This is not what I voted for.
Yeah.
But now starting to see that JD Vance may not be the golden child. I bet this is the clip he saw that like prompted that.
Interesting. You know what it reminds me of? The whole like, oh, he's gay. Like it's like the first thing. It reminds me of when Justin Bieber was like super popular.
Yeah.
I'm a bit older than you, but
I was there. I remember.
Dude, every guy just hated that he was successful, dude. And that was the first thing they would say. He's gay, he's gay. Like, and it just reminds me of that. And like, I don't know, like there was an era where like I used to think like that, like a long time ago, like why is he being promoted? But it's the same thing, dude. It's the cuck pill. Your girl is going, dude. Your girl is going to Nick Fuentes, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Right? Like, hate us because they ain't us.
Right. I just find it's such a, when I see somebody go, oh yeah, well he's gay, it's just like, oh Lord have mercy, dude. It's just it's like the lowest hanging fruit. You know what I mean? It's like, yes. I did see Zeb, and if people were wondering like the dual stream, I don't even know how I did it, to be honest with you. I just like flipped a switch and it works fine. I can show you which switch I flipped if you want me to show you for your chain one for OTO when you guys do your streams.
The dual stream? What were you doing?
Yeah, so I have it on. So this stream is also regular, but it's also showing up in the shorts feed as well too, so people can watch it on their phone, like in the vertical mode.
Atlas is our resident nav tech whiz.
Right. But so this take actually was prior to that supposed meeting supposed to happen in Islamabad, which did not. And so we'll get to, again, we'll revisit this exact take on the other side of that on Friday. We'll get to that one. I have that one put in here as well in the outline too. And perhaps maybe we should actually stick with that. Maybe we'll stay on that concept with that instead of breaking things up. I'll jump forward to Friday. I don't believe he addressed it any much further on Tuesday. He did make mention on Tuesday about how JD Vance has literally been vanishing, right? Like he's disappeared. He's been not present during like the Iran war, you know, most online president ever. I think he did speak to that a little bit. And let me find this one here. Was it on Friday? I believe it might have been on Friday. No, maybe not. Maybe it was actually came on Tuesday. Perhaps not. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong clip here. But again, this is him going back into it again on Tuesday with a bit more detail. And I want to stick on this topic before we move away from it. I want to cover it in full. So here's the next clip relevant to this that came out the day later.
Or said they want to deal with the vice president because he's anti-war. Super interesting. So who is the Iranian and Pakistani source? We'll only talk to the fearless and noble Vice President JD Vance because he's America first. He's anti-war. That's not true at all. First of all, that's not true. That's not true. JD Vance went to a restrainer think tank in 2024 and said, I'm all for America first, but we need to bomb Iran. So that's not even true, by the way. The New York Post and CNN are reporting that unnamed Pakistani and Iranian officials are telling us that Iran will only negotiate with Vance because he's anti-war. We can trust him. We can trust him. He's not a neocon. He's not with Netanyahu. He's not a nation builder. Really? Because JD Vance went to the restrainer think tank called the Quincy Institute, funded by Soros and the Koch brothers. It's an anti-war think tank named after John Quincy Adams, I believe. And this is a think tank where their ideology is foreign policy restraint. And Vance went there and told them, I'm all in favor of America first. We should stop funding Ukraine, he said, but Israel's different. We should fund Israel, and we should fund them and give them material to bomb Iran. Then, months later in July at the convention, as you know, the first interview he gave after getting the vice presidential nomination, he told Sean Hannity, we got to bomb Iran and we got to bomb them really hard. And then this past month, all the sources from inside the White House have said that Vance was in favor of bombing Iran. He didn't express any disagreement. They said every cabinet member was in favor of bombing Iran, and Vance more so than others. They said Vance said, if you hit Iran, you got to bomb them really hard.
So that's probably maybe the next point to add in there too, which is this again, the positing of who actually Vance is. Now, most of these media stories, much like you had said with your boss, drinking the Kool-Aid, buying into this idea that Vance is like this anti-interventionist. And I think at this point, it's much of a joke as Tulsi Gabbard is a non-interventionist, right? Seemingly she will go wherever her palms are being greased. And it's kind of wild that people forget these things. It's not even that long ago that they even happened. I very particularly remember, because I did cover the RNC with my previous partner, that when Vance was selected and walked over off stage, he goes and sits down with Sean Hannity, and it's like one of the first things that comes out of his mouth in the first 2 minutes of sitting down, which is kind of insane. But also the New York Times had a fantastic article, and much like Nick had referenced there, New York Times is a great article. I would encourage people to go read it if you can find it. But it says how Trump decided to go to war. And in there, they go into detail very explicitly that Trump was leaning towards a smaller, more surgical, more precise strike, but it was Vance's argument that won him over. It was Vance's argument of a broader, go big and go fast, I think was the quote that came out from what Vance is communicating to him. And so the article talks about how it was Vance's argument that won him over. So when you think about that, like how did that play out in the meeting room? Well, you would have to think then that must mean that Vance is arguing over other people that no, the right thing to do is engage in a broader operation. Here's why a smaller strike is wrong, and here's how we should go. But now here we're on the other side, that Vance is now the one who is like, wait, we shouldn't be doing this. And you kind of sit here and you go, how do people fall for this? In the same way, I kind of like think about, like your boss, and not to be rude to him by any means, but like, how do you run a radio show and, you don't read the news? Or at least you don't have like the, you can't keep your timelines in order too, right? How do we just forget these things? And I guess that's kind of my opening take on that. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, if you pay attention, it's so obvious, but it's just complicated enough for the average person to it just goes over their head, and I think that's just the nature. That's just the nature of the beast. Is it's like you realize, especially dealing with the boomers. Whoa, that a big part of the reason is they don't want to admit we have a problem. They don't want to admit, because when you admit you have a problem, then what's the next steps? Solving the problem. But the problems that we have aren't solved easily. It will take financial pain. And the thing is that the boomers, they grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, time of total American prosperity. And their vision of the future, they had this Star Trek, like this naive thing where progress only goes up. Things can only get better. And for them, most of them did manage that, because to the detriment of us, housing prices and everything. So on paper, things are as great as they can be. But to admit like they would have to sacrifice everything at the end in order to fix it. And they don't care about that.
Right.
They don't care about that. And that's the thing with the whole Vance thing, is it's like, and listening to that clip, it's interesting how cynically calculated it all is, where behind the scenes, Vance is all gung-ho about the war, because it makes sense. The Teal verse, Vance isn't Jewish, Teal isn't Jewish, but they're CIA contractors. I mean, Teal is based, he's in bed with Israel, essentially. They're on the payroll. But I do think what's interesting about this is the bigger Jewish donors, like probably your
The Adelsons.
The Adelsons, for example, they are they've been at the top forever.
Right.
And you're seeing they're less concerned with public opinion than the Vance and Teal network are. There is something to be said about them being the forward thinkers of this, but they are the forward thinkers of hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's exactly what you said. That's the problem. Is it's like, when I think about the argument of, is Nick Fuentes a Fed? It's nowadays, I think of like, when I'm having those arguments in my head, it's like I have Zeb in my head. I'm picturing Zeb when I'm having these arguments. And with this, I'm picturing my boss. And that's not a shot at Zeb or anything. I'm just saying, like, now that, I like, what would Zeb, I can think to myself, what would Zeb say? Yeah. And like with my boss, for example, these stories about JD Vance, they're just foggy enough for people that want to believe he's the good guy.
Yeah,
they will.
Well, and I think another thing too, that you had mentioned this the other day. This kind of goes a bit of another side point, but this idea of like just generally not caring about, having like no kind of like long-term purview. When you had mentioned like that there was a caller who called into your show, and they were like proud that their two sons were about to like step foot in the Middle East. It's just like, it's just insane, And I think the older people get, the more convenience they want to be. And I think this has got to go into the equations for a lot of the thinking here. And, the expectation, I think, for people like your boss or people who are older, to like, I think you'd even said this, to like look at everything they push for their entire life and then go, I was wrong. It gets harder and harder the older you become. And even more so than that, you just generally become less capable the older you become too. You get more tied down, more routine, more responsibilities, less kind of wiggle room. And for a lot of these people, they just want the easy answer. They want it to just be as simple as they can go vote for JD Vance, not have to do anything beyond that. Because push comes to shove, I think a lot of people are LARPing, to be real with you. I think a lot of people think they're Neo, but many of them, when the pressure gets too hot, they will be the guy looking at the stake and says, just send me back and don't make me remember any of this. And I try not to be that down on people, to be honest with you, but I think the evidence is in the pudding. It's self-evident, if you will. But to move into a different subject here, something that's less serious, we'll get into this. I guess we'll open the hatch on what was the cuck pill and your girl is going, and this combination of both, again, claviculars kind of just still going. He got arrested or whatnot. I think he was out. He got banned on Kick. He was unbanned on Kick. But what really set the week on the female issue was the public post by Trevor Sheets about his wife, Ashley Sheets, that was, "My wife is a whore. I'm a virgin." And this tweet literally went nuclear. And I think I had responded to Laura Cox, I believe, a follower of both, Nav and Zeb and myself. And my initial reaction to the entire thing was I thought it was intentional. I think like in a couple hours after it had been posted, I responded to Laura on X and I was like, really makes you think like this is intentional. Like this is the reaction they wanted. And then I started digging into it a little bit, and it turns out Trevor Sheets has been in social media for the last 10 years. He's a social media guru. He sells plans to people to grow their social media. And so you go, so this guy probably knew what he was doing. He probably was expecting this kind of reaction. And that's kind of where I paused it. I put out a video. I think it's conspiracy. I think this was intentional. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think Nala Ray laid the blueprint. He's one of the most viral people over the last couple of years in this environment, in the Christian space in general. And it's for, reforming herself and coming to Christ and, having all these kind of gossip fights. And I think part of the reason it's actually viral is because I think a lot of women in the peripheral space, a lot of the feminists that exist in this kind of Christian space, especially on the digital side, when they defend Nala Ray or they defend Ashley Sheets, they are also therein defending themselves. And so I think this is why it also kind of builds up this reaction. I think Trevor knew exactly what he was doing, writing it out like that, putting stuff inside of the tweet that was like, what was the one insane part? My wife, can't even count how many men that she's been with, but she's still more pure than most virgins. It's like you only put stuff in there if you when you are trying to goad a reaction. Like that's not consistent with any belief. That makes literally no sense. And speaking of, he actually came out with a tweet earlier today. I follow him now because I'm just paying attention to this person, and he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I will respond. I should have worded this better on the more chaste element of it." And Nick did address it in a longer format, but I think again overall there's just more of this kind of general idea of it's just really, 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 really depressing to be a male and experience the dating market right now. But I guess what are your thoughts on this kind of overall situation here?
As a male that's in the dating market right now, it's hell, and I want to give up. But
I feel it. And I'm not
yeah,
even dating, but I feel that.
yeah, and dude, that was a weird tweet, and I watched your video on it, and I'm absolutely on board. Because here's the thing: either A, this is one of the most like insecure men on planet Earth, and it's a case of I'm trying to convince myself, or it's fake. Because if that were true, if it was like my wife got ran through so much she can't even give me a rough estimate on her body count, why is that in the wedding day post? Like, look, okay, if you're a Christian man and you meet a nice Christian girl and things are good and she has one body, terrible, not good, but it's like it's manageable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not ideal, obviously, but manageable.
Yeah.
Literally countless bodies is one thing, and then just like if it were one, you just say like the Lord, works in mysterious ways and brought us together, and that's your wedding post, not like
Yeah.
not like hey, we're on the honeymoon and I hear an echo, that type of post.
Yeah, dude, it was. I am very firmly of the belief. I find it to be intentional, and I think some of his
Yeah.
actions, even afterwards, have kind of have show that. He went on some guy's podcast. It's got like 100,000 followers afterwards, and I believe it was his wife is now going on AtlasThugged, and I think she's set to go on somebody else's show now. And like they're gonna do the media circuit, and I'm sure that they're now gonna be a common reference for the next year. We'll see if they can capitalize on it. To be honest, for some people, it's just a flash in a pan kind of moment. But he seems like he knows what he's doing. And funny enough, the podcast he was on, he actually worked 4 or 5 years ago. It's like the Living Waters podcast with Ray Comfort, I believe. And Trevor Sheets did social media work for them. And so here what you have actually, so he's done work for people like even like Ken Ham. And so what this guy has done is he's literally built and helped build all these other podcasters in the Christian space to like 30K followers, 100K followers. So now when he has this moment happen to him, you know what he gets to do? Hey man, you want to do me a favor? I'll come on your show. 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 Like to me, like it's a master plan, dude. Like I was like I don't know, like I couldn't tell you like or any smoking gun of evidence that it definitely was. But like if you were asking me, like this was a very clearly like thought out, like you had said, very like cynical thing. Like I'm going to use my wife. And the thing is, like if you read that post, even if it wasn't a kind of conspiracy, you read that post and you go like he was like this was an FU to his wife. Like he wrote this in the most passive aggressive, like scathing way that he could. Like, but I'm going to put Bible verses all over it, dude. My wife is a filthy, violent whore, but that's why God loves her. It's like that's like the way he's like writing this out. It's almost insane.
His bitch isn't going. She was never there.
Yeah, right. And it's just sad. There's a couple of great comments up here too from a couple of these guys. Ryan says, what's going on with the Old Glory Club? I don't know. I've seen Woe post about it a couple of times. I'd have to follow up on that. But just check out Woe's timeline. He's been all over it last couple of days. I'm sure Zeb's probably talked about it too. Mark Vendy says, somewhere along the way, Christians became convinced you have to forsake honor and justice for love and mercy. It's truly the most serious problem of humanity. Well, so more specifically, like in this scenario, what they're doing is they're forsaking physical reality. They are forsaking logic and reason. And so, and again, like these things don't contradict themselves, but you can make the same argument that like, my wife lost her arm doing this thing, or like before I met her, but she's just as capable as anyone else with who has 2 arms. It's like, no, she's not. And you're just like lying. Like no person with 1 arm is just as capable as somebody with 2 arms. Now, sure, like on the very, very end exceptions, right? Like perhaps you can make an argument, like if LeBron James lost an arm versus like some guy with Down syndrome with 2 arms, like, okay, now we have a different scenario going on. But just in the general, and it's the same argument here, which is like they're trying to deny the physical reality of things like pair bonding, deny the physical reality of like just like the pair bonding being huge, but also like all the other connective elements, the hormonal attachments, the way that these things actually have a role and it physically, and sometimes and in a lot of cases permanently change women based on the behaviors they've had and sexual behaviors they've had with previous partners as well too. And it's just sad. And I think this is why you see AtlasThugged pushing for it too. For those who aren't that familiar with AtlasThugged, she also has a pretty riddled past, although she's like the blonde, the pretty blonde girl now being pushed as like, the Christian. She's a more base Christian. Same thing with Meg Basham. I'm less familiar with Meg Basham, to be honest with you. But here's a clip that's kind of just a lot that kind of ropes in a couple of these things between Clav, Your Girl Is Going, and also the brown clotting from Sneeko too. And so to break the seriousness a little bit, we'll go to this clip here. I thought it was hilarious.
And Squeeze sent $20. What if Clav pulls up on you with her girl and she's going? How do you preserve aura? Niggas say to thank him. The fuck?
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing. Honestly, I think about that sometimes. There's just like nothing. You just have to accept that your girl is going. And it is what it is. I don't even know what I would do. I would have to ask her that off the rip. I'd be like, if we're in the club and Clav pulls up, if you go with him, I will kill you. Like, I want you to know I will cut your head off and bury you in the forest preserve, Kidding. That's a joke. But I would literally need to if I ever popped out with the GF, if I ever had a GF, we would have to have the talk. I'd be like, okay, we're going to this thing. Clavicular is going to be there. He would never do that to me though, because we're bros. But I would have to still say, hey, listen up. You cannot embarrass me. If you embarrass me, I will cut your face off and wear it like a mask. If you embarrass me, I will cut your fucking head off and send it to your parents. That's a joke. I'm kidding. I wouldn't actually do that, but I would communicate that these consequences would be severe. You know, no, but that's a thing. It's like you almost have to say which is the better option. The better option is like if she goes with him, it was never real to begin with. You have to be stoic. You have to be, your girl is going and you have to be okay with that. Because if she's yours, you have her mind and she's coming home at the end of the day or the next day. That's a joke. But, you know, if your girl is going, then it wasn't meant to be. If you don't have that, you have nothing. So you just have to say, if she goes, she goes. It's the real cuck is the guy that's like, you know, don't let Clav take you. It's like, you have to let go, bro. You have to let go. So that's what we're coming to terms
Finger
with.
Sneeko in the ass Groyper sent $20.
Come on, we can't stop. We can't do that. Please stop doing that. I like Sneeko. You're going to get me in trouble. Stop saying that. He's the homie. I like grab Sneeko's grab Sneeko's neck and squeeze. That's funny. Okay, that's a funny one. But don't do that. But don't actually do that. Grab Sneeko's neck and squeeze.
You know, I was cracking up for like 45 minutes straight the other night.
Dude,
I don't know if you caught it. Did you see that? That's
I didn't.
the first super chat name. Yeah, let me put it back on screen so you guys can see this. The first super chatter's name is grab Sneeko's neck and squeeze. And then the follow-up one is like something like finger Sneeko in the butt. Where's the next one at? It's just like, but there were so many of them. I think this was from Tuesday, I believe. Was it Tuesday or Monday? I don't know where the other one's at.
Girl is going.
Oh, that's
what he was like.
Good, dude.
Please stop doing that. I was cracking up on that one. That one was
Grab
good.
Sneeko's neck tweet. That was, I must have missed that. I don't know how I missed that one, but I did. That was funny, dude. That, that was good.
Well, it begs the question though, like in a less serious manner, right? What's less cuck? Is it the guy who's like we saw, right? Who's begging Clav? He's like, please, there's so many other girls here, dude. Like, you can have all of them. Don't take my girl. Or is it the guy who's like, oh, you're taking my girlfriend? Okay, dude. Well, I'm going to go work in the garage. Hope you guys have fun. You know, what's more ascended? Right? The guy who's just entirely unbothered? It's kind of a crazy question. And I think this is where like the Chad Champion thing comes in with like the cuck pill. Like, what is that the cuck pill? Is that what it means to be ascended?
See, this is actually, that's an interesting debate, Atlas, because it's like coming at this from like a non-Christian sense, because right, murder obviously is wrong. What is like, do you let it go? Do you not let it go? Because here's the thing. I guess it depends on your definition, because if you think that getting even, like making sure they regret it is not an option. Oh, what's the word? An option. You know, you kind of have to, I don't know, like put something in her like water for a year. You know. So here's the go-to, and maybe you've heard this before, but I saw this thing. It was kind of a meme like a few years ago, and it was this guy. He made a post. He was like, "Here's how I keep my girl around: is I wait for her to go to sleep, and I put nicotine patches on her while she's asleep, and I wake up before her and take them off, and then when she's away for a few days, she goes through withdrawal." And it makes her think like I'm the reason she's happy. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I'm like, the fact you even thought, even if this is a joke, like the fact you even thought that is concerning. But
it's fair
these
because
are
the
these
Jews
are
waged,
unprecedented times. Let's be real.
well, it's funny because it's like that is fair, right? Because the Jews waged biological and chemical warfare first. So that's the answer back. Like I will fight back then. You want to use birth control and SSRIs, I will use ALP pouches in the middle of the night. That's how we're fighting back.
Yeah. I could go to the club. Hey, why are you like, if you're in a relationship, why are you going to the club at all? But
that's so true. That's so true.
If you take your girl into the club and Clav is there and Clav, you know, he just like assimilates your girl. I'll kick my feet back and go to sleep knowing for the next few days she's gonna be scratching her skin off and
thinking she got some disease or something.
Yeah. Let's go, dude.
Yeah,
and then, oh, dude, that's so evil because it's like, even if she abandons you and goes with Clav, and then that obviously lasts for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I made a mistake." Obviously, you're not going to take her back. And so she has to move on with her life. Then she gets with another guy. And she's going to be like, no, even if it's like a good relationship, it's like, no man ever made me feel like he did.
You're going to permanently feel like everything's just not ever as good as what it was. Like, why did I feel so much better with this one? Which is kind of insane. And, all's fair in love and war, right? We got to use the tactics that are available to us.
Dude, I don't want to oust anybody, but someone I know.
Oh no.
They didn't do that, but they did something very petty. But I was like, that is so funny. He met a girl on Hinge and they were going out, and like he screenshotted the photo she used in her profile, like from when they were together.
Okay.
So like when they first started talking, he's like, "Hey, I'm talking to a new girl. Here's her pictures." So he had screenshots of her old profile.
Yeah.
They broke up and she got back on Hinge and then had like a new boyfriend in like a few months. He made a new Hinge profile that was just hers and put it online. I don't know if anything happened, if the other guy found out, but he just did to be fun and like forgot about it.
Yeah.
Like just deleted the app but left the profile on.
That's crazy.
So I don't know, like I never followed up, but that is, I was like, yo, dude, come on. But that was so funny.
But then at the same time, I'm also like, is that too much? Right?
Is it too much? It's too much.
It's like leaning into that's what I'm gonna start doing. Anytime someone starts like freaking out in the chat, it's like it reminds me of like just think of like Mark Levin, like in his short dwarf, Jewish shelf. Like just getting angry. It's like, dude, imagine being like that, like the most unfuckable, unhappy, like it's just like entity. It's just, but again, that's how some guys are, dude, without even realizing it, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And well, speaking of, I actually meant to mention this earlier. Did you see the Moody files dropped? Now it seems like Milo's moving on.
No.
Don't know if it was Milo who had initially posted this, but there was a further extension of the call with Sarah Stock and whoever the individual was. I forget who it was. I think people figured out who it was, like a former affiliate with Rift. And she goes into detail about how like Josiah Moody and Isabel Moody, and how Isabella had like some kind of relationship with Elijah, and that Josiah was just cool with it. And then like they're swingers in general. I guess it's like the other thing that was said in the call. Did you see any of this?
Ooh, no.
Yeah. So for all the people who have followed me, when I've been saying like, hey dude, like the Moody's are very, I'm not going to go my way to attack him, but like I knew a long time ago, just from insider information, that these people were like just money grabber grifters. And I guess even so far as I guess like I think Sarah even said something to the effect of like just like they don't even care about politics. Like it's just like this is just like their way to make money for them. You know, so like they're like even half-hearted in it anyways, just trying to grift. And that's makes sense because it seems like Josiah is literally using Isabella as like a prop to churn money out. And I think there was like some other weird video of her, like people were saying she was doing fetish content, but I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. It was somebody asked her to make a video of her like demeaning them or something, and she did it. So I guess for some guys they enjoy that, like they want a girl to yell at them. I'm gonna be honest, dude. That's the gayest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like that's what gay men must want. Like the gay men to reassure themselves that they are gay, listen to women yelling at them. I would imagine. It's like yes, there's nothing I could want to do to be on the other side of that.
See, that's one of those things I thought was just in like The Boys. You know, it's like, do people actually get into that kind of crap, and how prevalent is it? But
Listen, dude. I'm gonna be honest with a lot of people. Like, after going through college, my brain's never been the same. There's something that happened to me, not like physically, like no, no. There's a way to say that. No, nothing like physically happened to me, but it was just the general college experience of my era. That I will never be the same. I will never look at women the same. I will never look at men the same either, to be honest with you. And it's like one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like kind of have your brain peeled back a little bit, and it's like this is the nature of women. Like this is it. Like you're seeing it. And it's not to say like anything crazy at all, but I was a part of it. I was very sinful, especially when I was in college. I was literally a druggie. I probably talked about this before, dude. Like I woke up with my car rolling down the hill with puke in my lap, and it's a miracle I didn't hit anybody. I was going like 30 miles an hour down a one-way street in Columbus, and just blackout drunk. And I wish there was a way I could like deposit that though, not the terribleness of it, but just like if I could give, it's like the glasses, right? It's like no, you think that's a nice girl, like look at this, use these, and they put it on, and all of a sudden they see Sarah Stock and they're like, oh no, like what is this? It's like I wish I wish I could honestly like do that to people. And I'm sure there's probably many guys who probably feel the same as well about that. But it's just like women nature, and that's why I get angry too. Like I get angry at the fact that we lie to young men from a very very young age. Like women want flowers and all of this. It literally sets every child, every boy up for failure. And dad ain't gonna say anything different unless it's like he's a little based, and then mom's gonna push him and be like, no, honey, need to be nice and all of this. And I hate that, dude. I just feel like there's a very, very systematic failure that we give to young men. We don't give them the right tools, and they're very, very poorly educated. And again, like I had said on a video the other day, because if for whatever reason we've decided as a society that it's better, it's easier that if men suffer in silence and they deal with psychological torture, then we ever affront women or make women be accountable for their own decisions and behaviors. And that's just the society that we have. And speaking of, we're going to stay on the female issue. Did you see the Ella Maulding thing?
Nope.
Cool. All right, we're going to play it. For any of those who might have missed this, Ella Maulding was a kind of adjacent or peripheral Groyper, if you will. And she was one of the females who had publicly supported Nick, I believe also James Fishback as well. And she recently fell out of favor. She unfollowed Nick because he went at her for this take. And but it was kind of insane. Ella Maulding basically posited that she wants a man that's so pure that when he looks at porn, he doesn't even get aroused. That was like the take that she was putting out. And so Nick responded to this. And so here's this clip here. This one also coming from Monday. So here it is.
Or just in general, that I saw that post from Ella Maulding, and you know what? She unfollowed me on Twitter, so I'm just going to speak freely here. She had this post where she goes, I want to marry a man that is so pure that he doesn't even get aroused by porn because he hates it so much. And it's like, you are insane. The idea that a man could look at graphic sexual images and not be aroused because of like the implied moral phenomena behind it, like because of the implied moral consequences of what had to happen to create it, is so insane. I don't even know what to tell you. I want a man that's so pure he doesn't even get aroused, because women and girls are trafficked into porn. It's like, bitch, women and girls are not being trafficked into porn. I think that's a myth, basically. That's a load of shit. It's not that it never happens. It's not that it doesn't happen or hasn't happened. Let's be honest. There's a reason women are whores. It's because they get money and they don't need to get trafficked. That's the easy road. A woman could either get a job or find a good husband, or she could be a whore. Whether she's, a prostitute or a porn star, or she's sleeping around with high status males. But that's it. And so the idea that they're the victim, oh, those poor girls in porn, they didn't want this. They wanted to be astronauts. And then a mean man made them what? Make $100 million a year selling nudes? I don't think so, sweetheart. Also, guys are never going to not be aroused by graphic material. Why do you think in Islam they don't let them show their fucking wrists? It's because guys will get aroused seeing the shape of a woman's legs and shoulders, even if it's cloaked in black fabric in the desert. That's why they wear a hijab. That's why Jewish women wear wigs, because that's how powerful it is. That's just delusional. And they hate male sexuality. They hate it. And they use the trad thing as a cloak. They use the trad thing as cover. And it's a lot of Catholic women too. It's a lot of Catholic women have become these Puritan hall monitors about porn and Andrew Tate and degeneracy and blah, 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 because secretly they hate a male voracious sexual appetite. They want to control it. They want to confront it, defeat it. And that's bullshit. And that's actually part of the fucking problem. Part of the problem is that male sexuality is so inhibited and restrained. It's the men that aren't having sex. The women are having plenty of sex. It's the men that aren't having sex. It's the men that are having a lot of these problems. So, yeah, anyway. I saw that. It's like the day that a guy doesn't get aroused by a video of sex is the day that a guy doesn't have fucking balls. And that's the whole point, isn't it? It's like that other girl on TikTok where she said, I'm a 26-year-old virgin and I want a guy that isn't smelly, isn't gay, but also isn't too lusty. So it's like you want a man that doesn't want to have sex with you but isn't gay. Make it make sense. I want a man that doesn't want to have sex with me, isn't lusty, because that's what guys want, but also he isn't gay. But also he's super masculine. So you want a guy with no balls, isn't gay, but is also a big Chad. It's like, it don't work like that, sweetheart.
Thus, this is the dilemma, right? And, I'm inclined to agree with pretty much all of it there. And I think the thing is, too, is like, it's just kind of what, I don't think anybody's really coming across, and I mean, if you're on X, it's a bit of a different story, but for the most part, it's like things like on Instagram, right? It's like, I don't really think Ella Malding's talking about, you don't scroll on Instagram or on Facebook randomly and you see graphic videos, but you see, it's the fitness scene, right? It's every girl in yoga pants or some other kind of, beach pic or things like that. That's more likely probably more so what she's referring to too. And if anything, it's, I think, well, science backs this up. The more clothed that a woman is, but in a more revealing position, it's actually more, what's the right word for that? It's more arousing than like the fully nude imagery. So it's like the
modest is hottest.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like where it's there, but it leaves enough up to the imagination.
Right.
It's better.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what the science is behind that, to be honest with you. I would imagine probably because it does allow the mind to fill in the gaps and allows the mind to play around with it less so. But it is a bit of a problem, right? And I think that there is this kind of insane I mean, we've always known this though, right? I think that females just feminism ultimately is the hatred of men in its current form, especially like in the fifth wave, and it is really just trying to deconstruct males to be subservient servants. Essentially, that's seemingly the direction we're going, especially if we continue this path towards matriarchy. But it was just kind of wild because too, like he'd mentioned in there too, Ella Moulding like unfollowed him too. I think that's why he said he was like he felt free to speak about this, and it's like that's an insane thing. You know, like you followed Nick through and through for all these other takes. Imagine like she's heard him talk and like joke about things that I would imagine most other women would find offensive. But it's when he calls you out for having a bit of an insane take that you're going to unfollow him. It's like it's so emotional, and for a lot of women, it's like this is their issue. Like it's the only thing they care about is like it's like winning over and getting that kind of servant-hearted leader. You heard it with like the Ashley Sheets thing, right? And it's just sad, man. It's just sad. And you know, I'm very tired of seeing all the Reddit stories as well too. You know, like the haven't had sex with my wife in 8 years. I think I'm finally giving up. You know, and it'll talk about how dude, I read this one. It was so bad. It was like, you know, it was my birthday, and like I specifically requested these days off, and I made sure that she would have someone who could switch in with her, and like, and you know, and she was working, and it's something. It's like, and then she said, "You couldn't have asked me 30 minutes earlier." No, and it's like it's just some of the saddest stories ever, and it's like, no wonder we have a dysfunctional society. Like, but it's all backwards, and we know this too. And I think that's maybe what bothers people the most and why they don't even like care about a lot of it is it's like we know what the problems are. It's just that nobody's willing to do anything about it or address them. And that might be the most unfortunate thing.
Yeah, that's I don't oh god, man. Maybe I need to take some manosphere classes cuz it's like that is unbearable to even think about.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, so Mark Bendy, and the thing is, I know people have differing opinions on the Islamic culture. The thing is I would say right now, I think that if you were asking me, which is more correct, the culture, the open air, you know, everybody flash everybody at. I mean, how often are you seeing this now? Like girls flashing their tits at like random hockey games, and like how many girls like went viral? Was it like in 2024? They were all doing this. It was becoming like a trend. They opened up the New York tunnel camera. It's like here's a massive camera in the middle of New York that connects to Japan, and some OnlyFans chick goes up there like the day after it's built and starts flashing it. They shut it down. And but the same thing is you look at it and you go, I think if you were asking me, I think Islam is closer to the correct way to do it. Not that I think I would fully endorse the way that they do it, but I think that there does need to be, on both male and women too, a stronger enforcement of modesty. But what does that look like?
It's one of those things where we were just talking about is, you know, modest is hottest, and it almost kind of makes it worse. So it's kind of in the same vein, but like the Greek Orthodox head coverings that they wear, where it's kind of like the veils.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it does. We know there are head coverings, right? This is kind of the idea. It's also pushed in the Bible as well, too. I don't think we'll ever return to it, though, in the West, to be honest with you. That's
No.
well-wishing, if you will.
Those days are over.
But I guess to move on from that, though, I guess we're going to kind of stay on this because this was a theme through really the majority of the week was this kind of the cuck pill, the female nature of things too. And one thing I guess I'll mention, there's two things of the Tuesday show. Nick Fuentes did drop, I believe it was the spring collection of their merchandise, and in there they had finally dropped, I think it was the first piece of female clothing, which was the crop top, the Groyper shirt, which what was it? It was like Bratz dolls in like America First gear. Was that like kind of the gist of the shirt?
I hadn't seen any of the new ones, but I heard all the drama about the Groyper shirt.
Yeah, and
they didn't like it.
It was funny because all of what Nick said, all the performative males liked it, and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to buy that." But all the actual girls said they didn't like that. They didn't like the clothes. I remember Nick addressing. I thought it was funny, and but afterwards he said, you know, the show is for the dreamers and the strivers. You know, because he's been late for like 2 weeks in a row. He's coming in at like midnight or whatnot. I thought that was funny because like I'd mentioned to you in the green room just beforehand, I was literally working, and that was the one show I caught live this week from him. And he says it like in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, you're right, dude. This is for the dreamers and strivers. As I have like 5 monitors pulled up with like, different outlines going on. I was like, yeah, I agree with you on that. Um, and I guess maybe the final thing I would like to play on this, before we kind of move off and go back to being a bit serious to finish up here, is this is the idea of the Tom Brady white pill. And did you catch this clip?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because that he's mentioning it now, but I mentioned this to my wife a long time ago, when it happened actually. So I think maybe about a year ago is when this happened, or when it broke the news. And I told her, I was like, this is going to be like an example that is used. Like, people are going to point to this and say, like, if even Tom Brady has his wife cheat on him, like what does that say? And I think Nick did a great turnaround there, which is like, no, that's the white pill. It's like it means like it's not a reflection of you. It's like, these are just the actions of the women that you have in your life, right? It's a reflection upon her, not yourself. And I thought there's some great messages in here too. I actually had a couple quotes I liked from Nick here. I think, and it shows the versatility and the dynamic of Nick as well, and a bit more of the Christian perspective too. But I think it's great messaging for a lot of young men. But here's that clip here.
Was the biggest white pill I've ever heard in my life. I forget who I was talking to about this. I think it was Keith. Tom Brady's wife cheated on him. Think about that. Tom Brady is like the guy. He is literally the quarterback in the football game for Earth. You have like the high school quarterback, the college quarterback. Wonder what it must be like to be him. He must get all the girls. He threw the game-winning pass, the touchdown, and then everybody rushed the field. And how much pussy did he get? That's in high school. That's in college. He won how many Super Bowls? And that's the football game of America. He's America's quarterback for America's team. One of the world's greatest athletes, tall, white, handsome, loaded, successful, the best in the world at what he does, won the big game 1,000,000 times, in the big game more times than that. And she cheated on him with the jiu-jitsu instructor. And so he's some Brazilian monkey. He's some fucking average-looking Brazilian monkey. And you could say, what does he have that you could say, what does that say about me? My wife's a whore, but it's like, that's her. She did that. It's a reflection on her. Your girl's going, and that's okay. That's okay, because maybe a girl is going to you. Maybe the right girl is going to you. So your girl might be going, but that's okay. It has nothing to do with you. You're still enough. And this is why I say guys should not get caught up in women. People think what I mean by that is never get married, never have a fulfilling relationship. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. It's one of the joys of life. Get married, young love, whatever. But here's the thing. First of all, I can't even stop people if I tried, because people are throwing themselves into that. They can't help it. What I'm saying is, men need to develop their own will and their own consciousness first, because it's a powerful thing, and you get caught up, and you can't outsource your ego to a woman. You can't outsource your validation and sense of self and ego and esteem to a woman. You have to find it within yourself first. You have to build your own world. You have to build your own interior world, and then an exterior world first. And only then is a girl going to you. And girls can go in and out of it, but that's what you have to do first. That's why I say it's simps, kill all simps, whatever. Simps die, God laughs. That's the message.
And so I think probably the best quote in there actually is, you can't outsource your confidence or sense of worth or ego to a girl. I think it's probably, for a lot of men, I think that's what they need to actually, what's the word? Absorb live that way. I mean, seriously and truly, I know it's hard for a lot of young men because I think they do base their self-worth, a lot of it, upon how much play do they have in the dating marketplace. I think especially it's hard to get away from that too when you're younger as well, because you kind of feel like you're in the bubble of high school, you're in the bubble of your college, and it just feels like that's what everybody's kind of judging you on. It's like, your charisma in general, like how social are you? How much of a social magnet or a chat or things like that. And I think especially in today's day and age, there's probably nothing more important for men to do than to find their sense of worth in literally anything but a female. But I'm curious what your thoughts were.
That's exactly right, dude. And it's one of those things because it's like, I mean, let's be honest, like this, Nick is kind of the exception. And even he wants to have kids. And, he says like, he kind of says it in jest, but he would like to get married, even if the consequence is for kids.
Right.
But it is something that we all desire. And it is like you and Zeb are married. You're out of the dating game.
Yep.
And I envy you guys for that because it's rough out there, dude.
Listen, it's just a different
like,
battlefield. The venue changes. That's all that happens.
I know. And it's one of those things like, I think a lot of guys that are single, they think that like, oh my gosh, I got a couple dates in, I found the one and now we're scot-free. And no. But,
yeah,
it's like, that's just life, I guess. Like the battle always changes, but it never ends. But it is one of the, because like I'm 28 years old, and there's times like, look, you get it. There's times where everyone's just like, damn, man, it would be nice. But then you start talking to the ladies, and it's like,
did you hear Beardson's take on this the other day? It's so good.
What'd he say?
He was like, women have ruined, women have made women have become so insufferable that they've made sex undesirable. He's like, for the average man, he's like, if getting sex requires me to speak to women, he's like, it's a no for me. He's like, if getting sex requires me to entertain or having to converse with a woman, it's like, it's off the table. And I thought that was hilarious. And I mean, that kind of is how it is. I think a lot of people just can't look that beast in the eye. I think there's a reason why, as much as I think homosexuality is a social contagion, and there are like, social status benefits you can get for it if you can play it. I think for a lot of guys, I've also heard this too. Like, just, it's easier, guys who have high sex drives, and it's just impossible to deal with like the female dating market. And it just like, this is some of the deracinated stuff you get, when you, you just go through college, you see it. I was friends of somebody who was like that, who literally kept switching sides because he was just literally like had an insane sex drive. It was kind of actually an insane thing to be around. And
just go to the pet store, get a gerbil.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry. I could.
No. No. Although there was a wild.
What?
No, I'm just thinking of the viral one that happened like in the early 2000s with the gerbil. I'm sure many people who are old enough to remember that one. No pause, smelly balls, no pause. Yeah, I don't know what the name of the guy was, but if you look up like early, I don't even know what I actually don't even look this up. Strike that from the record. Just know there was a crazy incident involving a gerbil like in the early 2000s. I remember it so strongly. It's one of my earliest memories from childhood because everybody was talking about it when I was like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. Like this crazy thing that happened with a man and a hamster or something.
Was it referenced on South Park?
It might have been.
Then I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'd have to, yeah. Is that who it is? I don't even want to say it out loud, because I just like, I don't want anyone to go looking for it or like nothing like that. Just
man was
trust
a
me
pioneer.
For once. Yeah, just trust me.
And so was the gerbil.
Yeah, just sad stuff. And again, this is the whole reason why I even got into this in the first place. Is actually less so political. It's more so like I was angry at how bad the dating market is. That's why I started watching people like Andrew Wilson. And still to this day, I watch Andrew Wilson. I think he's great at it. We need more people like that, willing to actually fight that fight. And because Because part of it too, like I think a lot of guys get up because, or give up, forgive me, because they can't, what's the word? Verbally outlast a woman. I think that's kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for there? I think a lot of guys end up getting, run around by women, like in the heat of the moment or in disputes or in arguments. The girl's always like bringing up these like previous instances or like getting the one up on the guy. And so a lot of guys just don't even entertain it. Like it's easier not even to get into the argument. And I think that's what guys need to stop doing. You need to figure out how to, even if it's not an argument, but figure out how you can win those battles. And I think that's going to be a helping factor.
That's a good way of putting it, because we were talking about I think in the green room about how like there's some people you can't argue with. You know what I mean? So it's just better to not engage. That refers to men or women that aren't your wife. But like, well, A, why are you arguing with a woman that's not your wife anyway? But but with your wife, you have to beat them every single time.
I mean, it is like,
pause. You have to verbally outmaneuver them every single time.
Right. Right. But that's kind of like what I push, which is like, in order to do that though, you would need to what? You would need to know what you were, what your argument was front and back. You would need to be able to know everything that like might be used as a deflection or an excuse or a counter argument to what you're saying, that you have the response for, that you can outbattle that you are for sure, without a doubt, 100% correct, that you believe that and are willing to, fight the fight there. And sometimes it may actually take the place of an actual argument, but it's required. And part of it is too, is like, if you're in a marriage and it's on something like very particular, like you can't lose that, especially if it may be something that's relevant to your kids as well. You don't want that being passed down to your children. And if you as the father and husband can't prevent that from being passed down to your kids, I mean, like what even is the point of doing what you're doing? You're just essentially churning out more individuals who are basically going to be just as propagandized, just as, poorly off as you were, or as anyone else is in this generation for that matter.
Amen.
And forgive me here, lost track. The going to Friday though, Friday was kind of a bit all over the place, and again there was a couple of days skip between both Wednesday and Thursday that he didn't. I don't know if anything had occurred or anything happened. I think he had super chat troubles. I know that was the thing. But he kind of comes back on and is dancing on it a little bit. This idea again, because the negotiations didn't happen. Like, look, where are we at now? What's going on? Like, it's obviously we're getting ready to have this ground invasion. And like I said earlier, I do believe it was about around 5 p.m. at least Eastern time that I got the report that it was the 2,500 Marines and 2,500 sailors did make it. They did arrive into the Middle East, if you will. And again, I believe it's the 82nd Airborne. The Augment and Reinforcement Group is also on the move. And I believe there was talk of a third deployment, but I don't know if we ever got what branch they were coming from, which would have been the biggest deployment, around like 10,000. And so it is looking like a force anywhere from around 15 to 20,000 is getting ready to launch some kind of invasion. I guess the question is, we don't really know where it's going to be at. Karg Island has been the one that most people have been talking about. Karg Island specifically, because Karg Island is where they load the oil onto the ships to export. And so about 95% of the oil that Iran produces and exports goes to Karg Island to essentially be loaded onto the boat to then be shipped off. And so the idea here, at least is the way the New York Times is kind of game planning it, same with Nick Fuentes, the idea seems to be a smaller scale invasion, particularly in the element of taking Karg Island, not blowing it up, but taking control of it so that we possess a high leverage asset of Iran's. And so that way we get back onto the negotiating table, and then we can say, okay, we'll give you back Karg Island if you allow things to come through the Strait of Hormuz. And so it allows us to come back on to put chips back on the table, and as it seemingly is, we have none left, right? It seemingly is we have no chips on the table right now, and that Iran has the upper hand in the current escalation ladder. And that's something to pay attention to as well, too, because it's seemingly like we are trying to keep it in Iran's escalation ladder, which is avoiding a extreme all-out war scenario, either with a full-blown invasion or with nuclear warfare, whether that's tactical or otherwise. And so inside of this, if the escalation ladder is just inside of energy infrastructure, well, Iran has the upper hand, because if we, strike their energy infrastructure, they will strike the other Arab countries. And again, this hurts us as well as everybody else in the region, Because again, the idea being, if you destroy and you permanently damage energy infrastructure, that is a setback that's years long. So instead of the oil price shock lasting for a year and a half or 2 years, now it's a multi-year long thing, and so who knows if we'd ever come back to like the $70 to $73 priced, Brent crude oil. It may permanently now sit at 88. And also another thing inside of that too is inside of the fact that if it remains a strategic victory, if the United States does walk away, they do allow to Iran to continue and possess the Strait of Hormuz. And furthermore, they extend itself to, they start running some kind of tax, right? That they start making money off of it. They own the sovereignty of it. Well, then that's also going to shoot up price as well too. And so again, all of this is seemingly a kind of wiggling from our administration and our military to seemingly find a way to get pieces of negotiation or concession, points of concession, without letting it fall or blow up too much of a big of a problem. And so, I guess I'm kind of curious, Josh. What are your thoughts on the ground invasion? What do you foresee happening?
It's imminent. It's going to happen. In terms of the specifics, like, is it going to be Karg Island? I don't see why not. And it's just clear, and it's so disheartening because, like, we've been seeing Donald Trump, like his tactic is he shoots first, asks questions later. That's his thing. There's an appeal to it, but there's also, like, we've known the downside to that for a long time.
Right.
This is the most heavy and egregious case of it, where it's like, no, you messed up, dude. You are like catastrophically changing the world. And one of the things, like, this is kind of a side point, so forgive me for this, but like one of the things I think about all the time dealing with the boomers is they talk about how Iran is evil and they want to acquire a nuclear bomb at all costs because they hate us for our way of life so much that they are just all gung-ho about like killing themselves to kill us. That's what Iran's about. Okay, why are they letting Chinese boats through? Why do they do business with China and Russia?
Right.
They're not infidel, their lifestyle, their whole thing is nothing alike. Why are they cool with those infidels and not us?
Right.
These people, they just don't think it through.
Right. The same arguments used for like North Korea, Pakistan, all the other countries that are like, nuclear powered countries, but are either like Islamic states or theocratic states or otherwise like just outright enemies for some kind of other positioning. And I hope at the end of the day that we just have as little American casualties as possible. I didn't look into too deep into one of these stories, but I did see reported, I think it was last night, shortly before Nick went live actually, that there was some kind of strike that occurred in Saudi Arabia. And it seemed like there was conflicting reports about how many Americans had been injured or otherwise. And I think the number was like 10. I've yet to check in on that, but if that number is true, it would stand to reason that the casualty count for America like doubled in whatever that strike was. But again, fact check me on that one. I did not corroborate that further than some of the posts I saw on X. And that's the one thing I'm like really hoping out of anything. It seems it's almost inevitable at this point, and I have very little belief to think that we're going to not escalate it. I think it does feel like at this point we are in a quagmire, like many people have been saying, but I guess to what end, right? And I think some people kind of are holding out hope that as long as we can kind of get a bit more of concessions, or we can kind of walk away with a bit more with like the enriched uranium off the table, or we can get it moved out of their hands, or you get a commitment to them to not, which they already have a commitment to not pursue nuclear weapons. So I just am like, they're going to do this until they get the regime change. And I find that to be, that's going to lead into very, very, very bad circumstances. And I doubt it stops with Karg Island. And another thing to add too, to go back and reference Joe Kent again, like, we have basically, and a lot of this has essentially been telegraphed, like a lot of these moves and as well too. So you got to think like the Iranians are also reading, they're also paying attention to what's coming out of America. And it was, forgive me. And it was just shocking because you have Joe Kent, an operator who was like, he did like 20 years in Somalia or something like that. And he's talking about how, well, if I was Iran, here's what I would do. I would let them land. I would let the troops land, and I would have this and this and this and this. And so I think it stands to reason, like, too, like, how successful will even this be? And then what happens if this invasion goes wrong? What happens if our one maybe possible chance to stay on that escalation ladder is gone because they had rigged it with IEDs, or they had some kind of drone protocol to immediately initiate if there was an invasion that just like, I mean, so there's a lot of variables in there. And so I guess I'm really just hoping we get the base case scenario, which would just be like ending this conflict as soon as possible, without having to drop a nuclear bomb on these people. But I don't know. These people are very depraved. They obviously don't care about public sentiment. I don't think they even give a shit anymore. And I think this is more so the only reason I think we're even getting any lip service is to appease the markets. I think if the markets weren't even a factor, they wouldn't even be showing up half the time to talking to press conferences. I think they would just let the American people just kind of deal with it. And
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
The nature of this thing is very crazy, and it's honestly, it's got me thinking from an accelerationist point of view. I mean, I'm not a full-blown accelerationist, but essentially it's like I'm almost wondering, at what point will the Jewish lobby and the like American dissatisfaction, will that just be like unsustainable? And a perfect example of what I mean is it's like Zeb was talking about this on his show when the war first broke out and the Strait of Hormuz was already starting to become a problem, was what will win, the Jewish lobby or global capitalism? And it's still kind of neck and neck, but it looks like global capitalism will win out in the end. And so my thing is it's like, yeah, the Jews can pay off Joe Schmo, senator from Oklahoma, but at the end of the day, the reason they pay them off is because Joe Schmo, the senator from Oklahoma, only cares about him. And if it gets to the point where it's like, dude, they're like, the most staunch conservatives down here are going to kill me. Like, no one can survive now. There's riots going on. If it gets that bad, well, eventually like they just can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would also add too that like makes me believe that it's not going to be Carg Island is because I can't possibly think that the New York Times would literally detail an article so like almost to the point, like, I mean, to the fine point, even of like talking about details, like, the Marines, their purpose will be to help, rebuild American, the infrastructure, so they can bring in supplies, while the 82nd Airborne is the durable, like they are the sustainment, they're the long-term force meant to hold it while other troops are, move into the, and then we do it. Like I mean, if Iran has that in front of them, like we're going to do it anyways. Like I find that hard to believe. And so like, I just think that there's probably a little bit of misdirection in there too. You also got to take into fact as well, like a lot of how many intelligence agent operatives are still working at these places, still are, and always have been, New York Times and Wall Street Journal. Like, what are they, is there misdirection that they're trying to put out in some of these articles to keep the Iranians on their toes, to be looking for, the wrong things? So what if they do load up all they can at Carg Island because they see all these articles, everything pointing to it, and they know it's their kind of choke point for their oil access or exports. And then we just hit them hard, like on some random spot on the coastline. It could be something like that. I really don't know.
It's a good point.
But one thing, I guess, one of the final clips I want to play is one that I'm surprised didn't get a bit more viral, to be honest with you. But Nick, with extreme sarcasm, chastises Tucker Carlson for his anti-Semitism and his pushing of blood guilt. Just thought was hilarious. I saw that from Sam Parker quoting it and said, "It's funny how many people miss this." But here it is. Nick chastising Tucker for his anti-Semitism. So here it is.
Interview with Tucker and Tucker's general anti-Semitism, which I don't agree with, by the way. I'm against blood guilt. Tucker seems to hate Jews. I don't, because I'm a Christian and I hate blood guilt. So I agree with Tucker on a lot of things. I don't agree that when he says things like hummus-eating Pharisees that killed Christ, I'm like, hey, man, I don't agree with the blood guilt, okay? We all killed Christ because our sins put him on the cross. So I don't agree with that. Tucker's a little too hardcore, and I think he should really lighten up and stop hating Jews so much. Anyway, that's just an aside. But it was Tucker's It's Tucker's anti-Semitism. It's his hatred of Israel. It's his alliance with me, which is deep and fruitful and deepening all the time, every single day. We have a great relationship. It is my friendship with Tucker, and it is Tucker's connection with Vance, which has made the Jews and the Israelis skeptical of Vance. They told us. They're poisoning the well. Jews love poisoning wells. They love Christian blood for ritualistic purposes. That's a joke. They don't do that. That's a Tucker Carlson belief. I don't subscribe to that. That's something Tucker Carlson is really plugged into, I think. He thinks Jews poisoned the wells in the Middle Ages to kill Christians, to kill Goyim. I imagine he thinks that. And I think that's blood guilt. And I don't like that shit because I'm a Christian. Anyway, I tried to talk him in off the ledge. He wouldn't listen. When I went on his show, I was extending an olive branch. I was trying to convince him, bro, we shouldn't hate these people just because they're Jewish. Like, he wouldn't listen. That's a joke. Anyway.
And it was funny how many people like literally just couldn't. They can't get it. They can't. For a lot of people, all you really need is your third brain cell to fire, and a lot of people can't get that. They think if they rub their two together hard enough, the third will join in. Doesn't work like that. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was just perfect.
That was good.
And I'm sure we'll see some people later on, probably on the timeline somewhere, seeing that clip and going, "What's this? Here's Nick flip-flopping," and it's like, Lord have mercy, dude. You know, it's the people who only watch the clips that they get their takes from things like that. It is unfortunate.
There was a take Nick had earlier in the week about cell phones. Maybe you saw that clip where he was talking about like, you know, just how like different things are now and a lot of the social discohesion. He thinks a lot of it comes from phones, just how accessible things are with phones and everything. And I completely agree. And I've said it before. I think all women should not have phones. They should have walkie-talkies that call the police and their husband, and that's it. But I also think that should apply to men. I don't think autistic men that, like, you know, there's certain flavors of autism, and the kinds that don't get sarcasm, they shouldn't have YouTube. Maybe they can read books, but like they shouldn't have access to video players. You know what I mean? Because like I can hear it now watching that clip. There's so many people like, what did he mean by that? What did he mean by that?
I know.
Like, whoa, he's switched up. And it's like, dude. And that's so funny because it's like he does stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
And you get people, they're like, see what he said? And I'm like, yeah, that was a joke. And he goes, see, that's what you say about everything. It's like, all right, dude.
I know. It's just, I find it funny. I guess we're at the end. I'll address something that I saw at the beginning of the chat room. We didn't get to. Let me change cameras here. Go to this one. A lot of people were talking about something like this. Let me just say this too. You know, you can tell someone's retarded. They try to argue with math. That's how you know someone's retarded. So I've been seeing all this talk about the browning of America and like giving up on the white majority. Is like, what are you talking about? White people did give up. This is the problem. And then on top of it, while we're talking about all of the clavicular, being the one of the most paid attention to individuals, right, dominating on streaming, everyone's talking about Gossip Girl stuff. This is the problem. The not willing to fight the fight in the dating market is the problem. The 1.6 below replacement level of white reproduction is the problem. The problem is that white men are unsuccessful in courting their partners, their wives, into having multiple children. That's why we are losing. I don't want to hear shit about anything else of the deportations or giving up. I mean, a lot of it's coming from guys who don't have any children at all. Where are you in this fight, actually? And secondarily to that too, like when you look at the rate on the other side of it, it's like they're producing at, what is it, like 3.3? I think it's like the illegal immigrants are like 3.3. They're like nearly double. I mean, I think it is double. So how do you compete with that? Well, you would need to get young white men to have kids. Well, why aren't young white men having kids? Right. And so like, and again, it's just the very circular problem. But again, like it's going to require actually having to get into the field and fighting for it. And a lot of it is the fact that men are going to have to get a grasp on understanding what is male nature, what is female nature, what is charisma, what am I doing wrong? Why are my children stunted? Why are my kids not having kids? I think it's a question a lot of fathers need to ask themselves about their own sons. What tools did you not give your children? Right? Not to say it's all on the parents, but clearly something went wrong somewhere. And so like this is what I get really irritated about, because like the problem could be solved. It would have never been a problem had we stayed at 3.1, right? Or stayed at like 3.2 of a replacement rate. But why didn't we? What went wrong? And then you talk about what most young men are looking up to, and they're all like, no one cares about that. It's just dumb. Okay. Well, you can sit there and be an old coot, but that's not dealing with reality. That's what leftists do, right? But what we should actually do is actually deal with reality. Why is Clavicular one of the most watched streamers? Why are so many young men following suit with looks maxing? Why are these height extension surgeries like in a 180% increase in the last couple of months? Why? And why do you not have a grasp on it? Why can you not understand it? I think that's the question a lot of people need to ask themselves. Instead of having this kind of throwing up of your arms of like, it's all gay, it's all stupid. It's like, okay, well, that's not helping. And if you're really serious about wanting to actually prevent the browning of America, you would get your ass in a family court and you would start fighting that tooth and nail. Because it's family court, it's female nature, it's feminism, a portion of it, again, all of it being pushed by the JQ, but all of it's relevant and all of it matters. And this is an area of development we have to seriously get under wraps, or it's over. I mean, it literally is over. It doesn't matter how many deportations you get, we'll come back to the same problem. If the reproduction rate still sits at like, what is it, like 1.6, then we're at 1.4, then we'll just go extinct. We won't even need illegal immigrants. You'll just literally go extinct. And that's the problem. And I think that's what we need to actually pay attention to, which is like, you could remove all of the nons out of here. If we're still below replacement rate, we will still go extinct. We will become an extreme global minority, obviously on a long enough scale. But I think there's a lot of things that people actually need to like engage with, right? And like not understanding it, I think it's a big problem. And,
no, dude, you're absolutely right. It's a huge problem. And, you know, as someone who's in that arena still, I mean, you've got kids, Zeb's got kids. I don't, but I want to have them. It's rough out there, man. I will say this though. I complain a lot about, it's kind of a white pill to that. I complain a lot about how this town I grew up in, Charlotte, is totally being browned, which it is. But I went out today, went to Chick-fil-A with my sister. We went to Walmart for a thing, and I saw a lot of like white families with lots of kids, and it was encouraging to see that out there. So
that's good.
Now I get that that's the exception, not the rule, but touch grass, everybody. Have faith in God. Do what you can, but have faith in God.
Yeah, it's just a sad thing, but I think there's, I talked about it, I believe, on one of my last shows, but I think it's a generational problem now too. I think it'd be one thing to deal with it if it was just one generation handling it, but we're now, I mean, you guys know the memes, right? You have the dad, the old man who's like, wife's the boss. And then the next generation's like happy wife, happy life. And then like the next one, it's like all the different sayings to the generations. I think that's what we're dealing with. It's like a generational stunt.
Yeah.
It's like a generational retardation of the dating market, of this kind of back and forth. And I mean, I do agree. I think there's like obviously pushes and propagandist pushes as well. But I think all of the data shows that even as much as they push, forgive me, and, the interracial stuff as well, we have the statistics. It shows that white women are still like inside of all the groups are still the ones that still maintain and marry inside the race the most. And as well too, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure the historical trend has always been poor individuals have more children than rich individuals. I don't know if that holds true still to today, but the argument that brown people get more money, I don't think holds up to true or holds up any weight either. I think a lot of people find, especially in the current modern era, we are very babied. And I think a lot of people kind of find very easy deflections and excuses for why they can't have more kids or why they can't take on more or why they can't, ultimately help in that certain avenue, if you will. And I think that's just what a lot of people need to hear. And, I'm always going to push it as well, too.
If you're watching this show, you need 5 minimum.
5 minimum. Yeah. But two is replacement rate. So 3 if you want to go beyond that, right? I don't even know why 2 is considered the replacement rate. I'd have to look into that, actually, to be honest with you. Probably just because the chance that one perishes, I guess.
I was gonna say, like, that's like, I think, wouldn't it be 3? I like that 3 sounds like minimum replacement rate, not 2. You know what I mean? And I'm not going. Here's the retard arguing with the math, but doesn't that just sound right? You know?
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm just like more so curious. Is it the mortality rate, or is it like the male female?
Oh,
Like
that's a
if you
good
have
point.
2 kids, like if you have 2 daughters, like is that what it like goes in the equation? It's like, oh, this family line's not going to continue.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay, 2 is replacement because it replaces the 2 who made them. Interesting. There's got to be. I would imagine there's going to be more that goes into it.
Gotcha.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, can we get some W's in the chat for people who have more than 2 kids? W in the chat.
We love
Anybody?
you.
Anybody? I want to see how many people we have watching that have more than 2 kids. I'll wait here a little bit. It's a lot of talk, and I'd imagine we have a lot of kids. We get some W's in here, please.
1 W. The people with 3 kids are
You said
not
you don't make us
up at
replace the 2 parents.
10:05 p.m. watching Groyper report.
But it can't be if it's, but that I get the replacing the 2 parents element, but that doesn't take into place mortality rate. That assumes everyone lives. Like, so like I it's got to be higher than 2 then. And you'd have to also rope in infant mortality rate too.
I don't think.
I don't recommend having a 0.1 child. That's hilarious. That's funny.
That's when you have a mix.
Cool.
No, I'm kidding.
Cool. Well, we got a couple W's in here. So congrats to J.R. Williams, Tix Bomber, and Hippocratic Oath. W's to you guys as well. You guys are carrying the water for us who have not broken the line of having more than 2 children. We appreciate it greatly. But just to, extend and prove a point here, I think that's what we need to be paying attention to. And if anything, that is something that you can control. When people ask, what can I do? What can I do to help? Have kids. That's what you can do. That's an easy thing that you can do. But anything else you want to say, Josh? I'll let you close us out, actually.
All right, great show tonight. Great topics. A lot of important stuff. I think the women's stuff is really important because got to get them. But this has been Groyper Report. Happy to be here once again. Looking forward to doing it again next week.
All right, and that's it for the Groyper Report. Christ is King, as always. And seek first the kingdom of God. And we will see you guys next week on the Groyper Report. And literally maybe the most perfect time of all time chat, period. Thank you very much, Millie Balls. Yes, new channel is live for myself. For the longest time, I've been asked to post like clips from the streams. And I've literally not done that my entire time until today, or yesterday, I should say. At AtlasThugged TV is the secondary channel. So I'll be posting clips from Offensively Accurate. And anything really, it's going to be like a dump off for anything that falls out of politics. Like if I cover anything relevant to like pop culture or like a movie or like something along those lines, I wanted to be able to have the open ability to do that. And also like not take away from like the mainstay channel that's just like largely only political and theological too. So yeah, if you want to go follow that at AtlasThugged TV, that's the new handle. I'd appreciate if you subscribe there. And as always, we appreciate you guys. We're rooting for you guys. Christ is King. And man, let's just hope we win this. It's looking rough, but you can't give up. Never black pill. Take the white pill, choke on it, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Where do you stand politically? Give us your political ideology.
Okay, I can say anything I want.
Yeah, bro. Say yeah. Where? Yeah.
Rumble. I don't know, the day-to-day stuff, I'm like, yeah, more bullshit. Another white girl got stabbed to death? Of course she did. What do you expect? For my politics, I just watch America First with Nick Fuentes.
Okay.
I consider myself a Groyper. Sometimes I just wait to hear Nick's take to make sure I have the right take before I make videos, you know? So, yeah, I just go with what Nick says. I just defer all my political opinions to Nick Fuentes at this point. I'm America first. I wish that we had white Christian men running the country. It's unbelievable to me that we have a government that has a policy other than America first. How does that make any sense? We pay taxes, like, use our taxes to benefit the country that we live in.